Hello and welcome everyone who decided to spend their night with a little bit of improvement for their lives and to learn some new cool skills. We are here with the cool collaboration project with the stay-at-home sessions volume 2. Today we are going to talk about schedule, so timing, and the resources, mainly the human resources of the project. So let's start with the scheduling. As you see, again, we have the project triangle. And today we are talking about the lower parts of the triangle, and start with the schedule. So this one, as you see my mouse. When it comes to project scheduling, it has to be realistic, because sometimes it happens that someone will prepare a project and it's barely we can do it. So we have to decide that if it's doable or not, if we can do it or not. So I have to have a realistic schedule, because sometimes we need more time than we actually have, and that could be a problem. If we want to implement a successful and quality project, and we need a little bit more time, we need to discuss with the project owner or with the project manager that, okay, these phases need to be prolonged, and if we want to achieve everything from the project scope, we need a little bit more time. It's based on the time boundaries, as we discussed before in the project scope. Several phases and work packages have boundaries when it has to be done, and the scheduling has to be prepared according to that. If it doesn't fit, we need to change the scheduling and the scope or the certain phases. The structure of the scheduling follows the work breakdown structure. As we talked about the VBS, the scheduling is it's the same. We are using the numbering to find it, and we know that which package how long should last. When we are deciding about how we are going to prepare the scheduling, we are deciding about the method, and we need to prepare it according to the complexity of the project. So if it's a long-term project, let's say, some of the phases we can we don't have to discuss or explain to all the people all the aspects of the project scheduling, because they don't need to know that, and it would be so prolonged, so we are not doing that. If it's a short project, then we will prepare some phases, some work packages, and that's it. We have, again, back to this point that how we are going to present it to people or the project team members or any other people who is interested or who have to know about the project. We need to ensure the acceptance in all levels. So everybody needs to know what, of course, from the scope, what we are doing and how and who is doing that. But with the time, we need to know when we need to do that, or who is doing that and when, in which time frame, in which time boundaries they are doing it. So for different target groups, we're explaining the project in different depth. Sometimes we are collapsing the work packages, sometimes not. Level of detail corresponds to the level of details needed for controlling. This is an important part, because the scheduling, how we are doing it and how we are following or controlling it, it gives us more control about the project. If we are meeting the results objectives or phases on time, we can control it. If we prepare it in more details, we prepare it, the more controls will we have about the project. There are the two most used methods how we are following the project. First of them is the list of dates. It's usually just a Excel sheet, normal Excel sheet, but you need to know how to use the Excel and tables and filtering and stuff and putting in order. But as you see, you have the VBS code. You can describe the work package, but either the code could be enough. Start date, end date, and actual date. What does it mean? That we see that when should this work package start and when should it end, and we can update it with the actual date, that actually when it finished or when we reached the goal. It can be sooner, it can be later. And this is for a little bit more complex project, the bar chart or network bar chart. That again, you can prepare it in Excel, or you have different online tools how you can do it. And it's visualizing the dates and the duration of the project and the overlapping of the tasks or overlapping of the work packages. So when you are responsible or you are preparing something for multiple projects, let's say, or work packages, which you can specify how they are connected. Some of them need to finish first to start the second. Some of them can run in parallel. So this is really good to visualize, and you can see that what's happening. You can update it. You can change the color of the chart if it's done, or if it's in progress, or it's even not started. So now let's go to the milestone panel. It's a crucial point of the project scheduling. It's really important because this is one of the mandatory documents when you are doing a project management. This is one of the mandatory documents next to the project scope and project approval. This is the milestone plan or project charter before the project approval. And this is the milestone plan. What is it about? Milestone plan, it's showcasing or showing the critical points of the project, which we need to meet, which we need to have. It shows the important, it's usually an important event. And it's an indicator. Indicator meaning that is showing us where are we, so we can follow the project, if we are meeting on time, what we are doing actually, on which phase of the project we are, and especially when are we there. So if we are meeting the time schedule or the time boundaries or not, if we are over or we manage to have some spare time, because it can happen also that you save a little bit of time and you can achieve the goals and objectives a little bit sooner. It can happen, but usually it doesn't. It can happen the two ways, that if you are giving someone a time, like let's say 1 month to do something, they will exactly do it in 1 month, not sooner usually. And there is the student syndrome that if you're giving someone 1 month to do it, they will prepare it on the last 2 days of that. But yeah, this is the milestone plan is an indicator when, where are we and when we are there. And it can be a gate. By gate, I mean that you can make a decision if we are going or not going. So you can even cancel the project if you are not meeting the milestone, or you reach the milestone and you see that you don't have the results you needed, then you can still quit, and you can decide that we are not going to do the project. We have some invested money in the project, okay, but we are not going to invest more because there is no reason to do that, and you can cancel the project. Or go and no go, meaning that you have a, let's say, work package, and until you don't finish that phase of that work package, you cannot start the next one. So by the milestone, if you reach it or not, it's meaning if you can continue with the project or not. You are waiting for some input from different tasks or different work packages. We have some mandatory milestones. It's usually the mandatory is the start and the end. It's not a rule, but usually you can do it if it's of course, it's a project for 2 months or 3, then you are not doing it, but you can make a milestone every month. So in the end of the month, you can check. The more times you check, the bigger control you have about the project. I already mentioned that. And the milestones help to manage the energy level in the project. What does that mean? If you are doing this milestone checking or milestones you have every month, let's say you have a project team members, like 10 people working on project, and you will check in the end of the month if you met the milestone or not. And if you did, then you can arrange some a little bit of like a dinner together or something and celebrate that, okay, we reached this milestone. So if the project, especially when the project is long and it lasts like 5 years, let's say, then the energy level goes down. They are motivated in the beginning, they want to do it, and they want to reach goals and objectives, but by the time it can get lost a little bit. So what you can do is that do this milestone checking every month, and you will increase back the energy level. So okay, we achieved this, because as with the elephant example from the previous webinars, if you cut it in pieces, you can eat it. If there is something big, you cannot even imagine doing that. But if you have some smaller partial wins or partial objectives, and you are achieving them and celebrating, then okay, you can see your progress and you can keep the energy level in the project. we are using event-driven wording. In the VBS, usually we are using this preparing of this, or creating this. But in the milestones, we are using the project started, project finished, report checked, so it's in past tense. So even if you don't know that's a milestone plan, usually you are changing the colors or switching or something that it's visible, but if it's not, by the name, you can decide if it's a milestone or not, because it's using past tense and event-driven wording. Okay. Mi scusa. So we have the VBS from the previous webinars. We have the project, we have the different phases of the project, activity planning, promotion, etc. And we have the milestone in the end of all of the phases. So when it's activity planning, we need to contact the accommodation, decide the dates, and prepare it, book the accommodation. And if everything's done, book. Oh, okay, this is a really easy example. So just an example. It's usually content more steps. But in the end, we have accommodation booked, and this is the milestone. So we have the days for that. We have the time frames, and if it's booked, it's booked. That's it. So past tense, event-driven wording. Participants selected, that we know who is going to come. Mobility finished, so we have the mobility. Let's say 10 days in Slovakia, for example, with 5 partners, blah, blah, blah. We are doing this. We have sessions, and mobility finished. Everybody's home, everybody's safe. Milestone again. You can celebrate with the team, with the volunteers, with the camera managers or multimedia managers, and have a dinner together or something. And project closed, when everything's submitted, prepared, and they approve it. Project closed, that's it. That's the milestone. That's the project ended milestone, let's say, or when everything's archived. This is how we can prepare a basic milestone plan. It's kind of easy. You have the VBS code again, a milestone. So it's not from the scheduling, just the schedule. This is just the milestone plan. You are checking the milestones here. Project started, accommodation booked, event-driven wording, with the base date, revised date. What does it mean? The base date is when we decided, or when we were planning the project, we are preparing the milestone plan in the beginning, and we can see the base date that we wanted to reach this milestone until this date. It has to be done. Then there is a revised date when we are checking if we met or not. Then, as you see in the 1st of January 2020, project started. We revised it. 1st of January 2020, and actual date is that we actually finished it, that we reached the milestone to that date. But for example, when it goes to the accommodation booking, we had 1 month to do it, but when we revised it in the middle of February and we see that, okay, we are not reaching it, it's not okay, so we will continue. And actually, when we did it or when we finished, it's 18th of February. We are always, when you are doing it in Excel, you can freeze the columns. So if you have a base date, just freeze it and you are never touching it again. You are not doing nothing with that. It's there. It should have been done in that time. You cannot lie to no one that, okay, I will rewrite it and then that's it. It's okay. Nobody will know. Everybody will know, of course. But this is sometimes it's a situation you cannot influence. You cannot do nothing with that. It's just happened like that. And like, okay, it took a little bit longer. Some other stuff is happening. There were some problems or risks which occurred. Actually, spoiler for tomorrow. And when you are doing, let's say, a presentation to the project owner or an interim report or something, then you have a milestone plan, and this is a really good method how to showcase that, okay, like this is happening, this is how we are, that you can reach some goals sooner, but you can reach some later, and you can show that, okay, accommodation is not booked because some of the accommodations didn't respond, or they don't have time, or they need to decide and they are not communicating, or they are on holidays, or whatever can happen. Then, even if it's not your fault as a project manager, it can happen that you prolonged it. Not a complete disaster. It helps you to track the project and have a bigger control, and to do a presentation to the project owner. Then, when you have a bar chart, as we had in previous slides, you can prepare a bar chart. This is how it looks like when you prepare it in Excel. In a can be prepared in a different ways, but this is one of the ways that you have the VBS coding, the name of the phase. You have up here, you have the dates, and this is, as we said, showing the duration and the dates. So the project started, it's a milestone, it have this symbol, it's visualized that you can see the milestone even in the VBS, you need to see that. Activity planning, it goes from January and we see that it happened in the middle of, no, this one happened in the middle of April, let's say. But the project promotion can start, so we start to plan the activity when we decide the accommodation, let's say, or something. The project promotion can start as well, even though this is not finished. This can start because you can prepare, for example, the graphics for the project, or start to prepare the info pack, or contact the partners or someone, start some discussion and promote the project even before the activity is actually planned. So it can run in parallel, but you cannot arrange the mobility before you promoted the project and finished with the participants selected. Until they are not selected, you cannot start the mobility. So this cannot start, the mobility 1.3 cannot start until the milestone participant selected. This bar chart lists all work packages from the VBS, so you need to pay attention for the work breakdown structure to prepare the correct bar chart. It's called bar chart or Gantt chart, because there were two people who prepared it in one time, so we can call it bar chart. But if we don't have to or don't want to be in conflict with the name, we can use bar chart and that's it. It's not connected with the name of the inventor of it. Okay, list all work packages. You are estimating the duration because in the beginning you have some estimation for it, that how could it look like, how can we achieve the objectives. But you need to update it, you need to refresh it all the time, and you can use a different Gantt chart or the same Gantt chart, but you are putting a second line that what time did it actually happen, if the milestone was moved to the left or the right, so sooner or later. So you need to estimate, you need to decide in the beginning how long will the project be, and you are updating this chart. Determine start and end date, as we said, from the VBS we have it. And the relationship between the work packages, that means that, already mentioned, but again, that some of the work packages can run in parallel. It's not a problem. You can plan the activity, and by the time you can start promoting the project, start preparing graphics, and some of the steps can run in parallel because different people, different experts are working on it. So they don't influence each other, they don't need input from each other. So there is no reason to wait for the other if I can start sooner. And I can shorten the project, and the shorter time I do the project usually, it means the less money it consumes, so it's beneficial for the budget, let's say. Now we are going for the step estimation of durations, because in the beginning I cannot define that this is how it will be and that's it, and nothing can happen that it will happen somehow differently. Nobody knows. There are different factors which can influence the project, and we can just estimate how it look like. Let's go to this bar chart again. That it can happen that you plan it for 2 months, let's say. This phase 1 will go for 2 months, from January to beginning of March, let's say. And then you discuss with the experts that, okay, that this is how I prepared it, this is how it should be. And then you see that, okay, different people are responsible for different work packages, and they will tell you that, okay, all the work packages will last a month. And you will see that, okay, that doesn't fit to my first phase because I cannot influence it. This work package 1 need to be finished before the work package should start, so cannot be done. And there are several things what I can do then. The first thing that I will tell them that, okay, shorten it down a little bit, but it can influence the achieving of the scope, or it can decrease the quality of the project, or I can check if I can overlap the work packages a little bit. So if they can overlap, and for the 3 work packages, 3 different people are responsible, then there is maybe it can happen that they are working simultaneously, so we are saving time again. Or Again, if you want to keep the scope and keep the quality of the project, you can hire other experts, if it's possible, of course, that you hire more people, you are increasing the budget a little bit, but you are keeping the time. Again, we are working with this magical triangle or triple constraint. But again, it can happen that you cannot speed it up by hiring more people. If someone is producing watches, let's say, like this, it doesn't help you if you have 30 people there, because just one person per time can work on it, and that's it. This is the there is a joke that the project manager is someone who tells that one woman can give a birth to a child in 9 months. So if I hire nine women, then they will do it in 1 month. So some of the stuff is impossible to do. So we are preparing this in work package level, so we can see that if actually the phase can be done. We are using elapsed time, and this is the basis for estimation. So I need to estimate the durations, and if I do it in work package and talk to different people or talk with someone who is responsible for that, if they can do it, then I will have an accurate estimation for that. And the basis can be done intuitively, so it means that the experts will tell me that, okay, this is possible, okay, this is not, I need this amount of time or that. Then analogous, that means that it's based on my previous experience. So if I implemented similar projects or similar youth exchanges or something, then okay, I can say that this phase or this work package shouldn't last longer than 2 weeks, let's say. And I have the analytical, which is the amount multiplied by productivity. So I know that I need this amount of stuff, and one amount to produce takes this time, so multiply it, and this is it. And I have the estimation approach. How am I estimating? I have the realistic approach that, okay, this is like, I know this is this long and that's it. This is real. It cannot be faster, cannot be shorter. Then there is the estimation scenario, which means that I will list so it can be influenced, it can be moved. So I have the realistic estimation that, okay, this is real. Then I have the optimistic that if everything goes as it should, then it should take this amount of time. And the pessimistic that if everything goes bad, like nothing will work as it should, but still I will manage to do it, it will take this amount of time. So I have the middle, let's say, the average, then the optimistic, then the pessimistic. And some of the programs or tools you are using allows you to have 3 inputs for these 3 time amounts. And then you can switch that, okay, this is how the VBS will look in the realistic approach. When everything goes super bad, I will switch to the pessimistic, and the VBS will show me that, okay, it will take this long, that it will prolong it, the whole period. And there is the weight average scenario. This is kind of good. This, if you remember something from the project planning and schedule, you should remember this, this stuff, the weighted average. And it looks like this. You have the estimation, the result. So you will take the optimistic estimation plus 4 times the average estimation and plus the pessimistic, and the whole divided by 6. And by this you should have the 99.8% real estimation. So now let's go to the resource planning. By resource, again, we are not talking now about money, but about people. This is one of the most important resources when it comes to project planning and project management. So usually the companies work in a line organization, let's say. We have the company president or someone, then we have the managers of different departments and the employees. And when we are creating a project within a company, or when we are creating a project as a plus work for each. So everybody have their different lives. They are doing something different in the normal usual life, and they want to implement a project. Then they are being pulled out from their lives. Or if it's in a company, let's say, then they are pulled out from their department. So this one, the orange ones, are the members of the project we are actually doing. This is the project manager, the first one. This had the idea to implement the project. He applied. It got approved from the project owner, let's say, and he need from different departments different experts. But it can be a little bit tricky to do, because the line managers, these people here, have their own objectives. They need to reach something, they need to achieve something, and they need the people who are working for them to work for them and not for nothing else, because they can use them the full amount of time. But this one, the project manager, needs them as well. It can be tricky, by the way, that the project manager want to achieve his goal, and this person here, the employee one or project team member one, need to fulfill his wishes or his objectives for the project manager, but for the line manager as well. And if this one wants something from him, he needs to first contact his line manager that, okay, the project manager wants to do something with me and I cannot be here, so they need to discuss. So again, they need to, the information, the flow of information, it can be long and it can be a problem then. You can create a temporary project organization, which will have the full focus on the project, but these members are not available full time for the project department. The most efficient way yet, which is working, what the people are using, is that they have the temporary project organization, and these people who are orange are visualized here. As it's working, that the project team members, okay, that's important as well, that there's the project manager, and when it's a project, the people are talking with each other, working, but if everything runs smoothly, just these, let's say, 4 members are communicating between each other, and they don't need to ask separately everything from the project manager, because they can work together, and the project manager's role is just to control the stuff if everything runs as it should and create the environment that they can work. Yeah, but they can communicate also, they can communicate together, they can schedule it up that, okay, because in some of the phases, the project team member number 1 is not needed, he's needed in the first work package and the third one. So in the between the 2 months, let's say, he's not needed, so he can work in his own department. So the project manager and the line manager are communicating with each other, and they can discuss that, okay, I need this person in that time. This is why you need the time management or scheduling the project, that you will know when you need that person, and the line manager will have the information and he will use that person when he's available. Okay, let's go for the resource planning. How we are planning the resources, meaning people or project team members. From the work breakdown structure, I can see all of the work packages and who is working on them and whose responsibility is what. And who will work on which work package. And by this we can estimate the man days or man hours or working hours needed for that work package. But let's not confuse, this is important to not confuse the effort with the duration. This is not the same. Sorry. Because let's say we have this phase, it's in a square, so we have 1.1 phase, which lasts 2 weeks and 30 man days. If we calculate, we can see that the duration is 2 weeks, it's the time, but the effort is 30 man days. And if you go deeper, the 2 weeks contains 10 working days, because you are skipping the weekends, let's say. during weekends they are not working, you have 10 working days. If you have 10 working days, then if you have 2 weeks for the work package, and it needs effort of 30 man hours or man days, you will need at least 3 people who are working 100% on that. Because if you are the only one and you need to, for example, watch some videos, watch some tutorials, read some books, or prepare something which takes time, it can be done in 2 weeks. You have 2 weeks for that, but alone you cannot do it. So you need 2 more people who are working 100%, let's say. And maybe they are not working 100%. They have other responsibilities, other stuff to do. And if there are multiple people working on that, especially in the projects of Erasmus+, when there are different countries, different people from different places, you need to count 10 or 20% for the coordination. So you need to have meetings, you need to have checkups, you need to have everything. So it takes time again and it takes energy again. So if the people have different other stuff to work on, other tasks, other work packages, they are available, let's say, for 50%, then you need at least 6, but better to have 7 people to work on that task. So it can be achieved in 2 weeks. If one person will do it, it takes 30 man days, so it cannot be done in 2 weeks. It will be done in 2 months maybe, or 1 month, let's say. Okay, let's go to the cost planning, because we have the time, we have the human resources. So let's go to the cost, because everything costs something, and it's an important aspect of the project, the quality and efficient project. How we are planning the costs? We have 4 types. We have the personal expense. When we have the VBS, we know who's responsible for the work package. We know how many people are working on that. So again, as detailed and as punctual we prepare it, that good plans or estimates we will have. So the cost, I know who's working on that, how many people, how many man days. And we have the man day multiplied by the rate, or the salary, let's say. That we know how much time it needs to be done. And every company or every organization have their own rates. They know how much does the employees cost. Because in the cost, you don't have just the, okay, one person and his hourly rate, let's say, you don't have just that because it's a gross salary. You need to have someone, for example, the accountant who is working on that, and you need to pay that one as well to have the first one work for you. You need to have the cleaning costs or the office costs, the renting and the working space, the electricity and all the stuff combined. So you need to know how much does someone cost to work for you. The companies usually know. If not, they won't be a long-lasting companies. We can have the third-party costs, which means that not my internal employees are doing something, but I will hire someone else, a person or a company, to do something for me. So it means external workers to be hired. It can be a trainer, consultant, or some transport companies. When it comes to Erasmus Plus projects, again, there are trainings which are really specific, and you need the topics which you are not professional, so you cannot teach someone else. And you need to hire someone, a trainer, external trainer, who is going to work for you or prepare a presentation or some trainings for you. Again, the transport, you won't own buses and flights and stuff, so you will hire someone to arrange it for you. And it can be calculated in 2 different ways. It can be, again, man day multiplied by the rate. So someone is going to work for you. He will say, okay, my price for a day is this and this amount. And you know that the work package will need 20, 30, 50 man days. Then you can calculate that, okay, you will get this amount of money in the end if you do it. Or if this many days you are working, you are getting this amount of money. Or if it's lump sum, so he will say that, okay, I will prepare the graphic for the project or the project logo for you if you give me this amount of money. And you don't care if it's done in 1 day or 3 days. If it fits to the time boundaries of your work package and he will do it, then okay, that's it. Usually this lump sum is pretty good because if someone is paid by time he's working on that, let's say, then they can do it for a really long time. Then you have the material cost. We have two different, the material and the others, the capex and the opex. This material costs are transformed into the final product. So if you are doing something and the final product will contain that material, then it's a capex, it's capitalized expenses. It's again, it comes the decision of the company how they are going to do it. So you can decide differently, but some companies are even capitalizing the work related to the preparing of the final product or the result, because they are creating a value and the work is inside that result. Can be, it's up to the company's decision, but usually it's some material or something which will be reflected in the final product. And the others, it's all the other expenses related with the project, or operational expenses, operational cost and capitalized expenses. So the others is everything which is consumed during the running of the project. So it can be some budgets for traveling, because you need to travel somewhere, you need to budget for that. You need to communicate, you have mobile phone expenses or fees, you need to have petrol to your car, and everything which is what is consumed but cannot be reflected in the end result, because you cannot say that, okay, I had a meeting in a hotel and I did this. It's not reflected in the final result. You are doing some checkup, you are doing just controlling. You need to do it, but it's not reflected in the other costs, the material costs, let's say. So there are still some costs which can happen and you need to calculate with them. The others are usually in the phase of the project management, and there are meetings and controlling and checking and everything. If it runs or if it goes as it should, then it's just a phase, but you need to calculate that you need the people to have the meeting, you need to arrange the transport for them, to book the accommodation or do it somehow that they can do it. Yeah, so those are the 4 ways of cost planning, or how you can plan the cost, or what costs do exist. Okay, so just for the end, I want to say that you need to pay attention in all the phases how you are preparing or how you are working with the project management. How properly you are preparing the VBS, the work breakdown structure, that accurate will be all the estimations, because you are setting the time and the resources in the beginning. You need to say that this will be this amount of energy and money and time I will need to do the project. Okay, you will update the information all the time. It's normal, it's usual, but you need to have an estimation, and the estimation will be accurate. That you won't say that I need something between 100,000 and €1 million. It's not an estimation. It's just like the weather forecast. You can say anything and maybe you will fit, maybe not. If you want to have it accurate, you need to prepare the VBS as it should be. Then from the VBS, everything goes down. So you know the time frame, you know the boundaries, you know the people working on that, the effort, the mandates needed for that. You can calculate everything. And if during the preparing of the VBS you forget a task, or you are not listing the objectives or the list of deliverables, you will forget something, you will forget a task or several tasks or maybe a whole phase, then you won't count the human resources for the task or for the work package. You are not counting the material, you are not counting the accommodation, the travel, anything, and it will be shown on the result that you will need more time or you will need a lot more money. And for the project or a smooth project running, it's fundamental to have a good time and resources plan. And the more often you control, the better, or the more detailed you prepare it, the more control you have over it. And the more precise estimation in the beginning you will say, and you will actually fit to that estimation, that you will not have a huge difference in that. So those were my last suggestions. Thank you for your watching, paying attention, and see you tomorrow at the same time. And we will talk about important part, which most of the organization and companies are skipping or abandoning, and it's the risk management. So thank you one more time, and See you tomorrow. Bye.